You guys, needless to say, it's been a trying week, and Mike Wohlitz, who you'll meet in a moment, tried for two days to get here from Dallas. So if you've seen a lot of me today, I apologize, because I feel like I played every part here. But we are about, Mike, you're there.
Hello, everyone.
Okay. So we're going to talk about the power of moments. And for you guys, I think the takeaway is those moments can take many forms. They can be emotional. They can be technical, they can be scripted, they can be unscripted, but for all of us, what we want is our attendees to walk away with a feeling of belonging, a feeling that something that sticks with them longer than the event when you walk out the door, and a feeling that makes them want to continue this experience and make it unforgettable. So we have a panel that comes from all sorts of backgrounds. I want to let them take a moment to introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their work. I'll start with Ian Dokie from Open Sauce.
Hi, my name is Ian Dokie. I'm one of the co-founders of an event called Open Sauce, which is basically a giant science fair with YouTube content creators. We're in San Mateo now, going in our 4th year. And our goal has really been to bring creators that operate online primarily and give them a physical space to interact. So we're definitely on the kind of fan convention side of things, not so much corporate, but a lot of really amazing moments have come out of the last few years of the event.
Yeah, we brought Ian here because it really represents the new event, designed for experiences from the get-go, from the minute you walk in the door. So hold that thought, and I'm going to move down to Ken Kerschbaumer, who, poor guy, came back from Australia like last night.
Yesterday, yes.
Where he was at the Australian Open and now finds himself on stage here.
Exactly.
Ken?
Hi, everybody. Ken with SVG, co-executive director along with Marty Porter, who's hosting this event. And by the way, quick round of applause to Robin, because this event would not be happening without Robin behind the scenes and Gigi. So really great, amazing job. So anyway, I'm curious to hear what you guys are going to say too, but this is exciting.
Right, so Ken's here representing the world of sports, and memorable moments. Jesse.
Yes, hi. My name is Jesse. I'm probably most notably known for my 25 years working for Bethel Church up in Reading, just a few hours north of here. I think some of my work has really been in the cinema live space for live production. I've had the privilege of working with several mega churches and some Christian music labels, and had a very fulfilling career.
Yeah, and there is no more momentous moment than a megachurch, right?
Yeah.
So Jesse will share some of his tips. And Mike Wohlitz, who's joining us on Zoom. Mike is the, oh my God, Mike, you are the delivery, there's delivery in it.
Sure. I'll take over things, everyone. And I have the honor of speaking as team at Freeman in producing special events and large broadcast announcement events. So I have done things like Super Bowls, NFL drafts, lots of corporate meetings, and I also have had a lot of honor of producing big governmental summits for the White House as well. So excited to join the committee, talk about memorable live moments.
Yeah, and I think we'll go back down the line. So I think, Mike, for you, so Mike has done the DNC, the RNC, many moments of pomp and circumstances. So talk to us a little bit about how much planning goes into making that, whatever, feel like a moment.
Yeah, when we do those large government summits, we will have about 6 to 8 months to plan them. RNC, for example, can be about a 3 or 4 year planning cycle. So it all depends. But the majority of the summits we do, we have less than half a year. And it's important because there is, as you said, a lot of common circumstance in it, and very controlled and strict messaging. And even though one might think that politics can be very dry and straightforward, it's actually quite the opposite. It's how you make dialogue post exciting, how you add elements of patriotism and symbolism and excitement and enthusiasm in it. For really our live audiences are very small. If you look at an international summit, it might be 40 world leaders and a total of 2,000 people in the building. But we could be broadcasting to north of 100 million people watching year round. So how do you create something unique live, but at the same time also create something extraordinary for the people in the media watching from around the rest of the world?
Right, so that's a good point. He's got two. Hello. Okay. So Mike is playing to two audiences, live and out there across the globe. Jesse, you also play to a live audience and across the globe, right? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've been in production my whole life, right? But I've honestly, one of the greatest privileges, or one of the best positions, I think, is being a broadcast director. I love the relationship of taking an in-room experience and really trying to translate an authentic experience to an online audience. I find that just really, really amazing and fascinating.
So talk to us a little bit about the tech behind your audience. What do you give us? I saw your screensaver on our Zoom call, and it looked pretty wild. You know your tech. What works to create a moment in the megachurch world?
Man, I think, gosh, without getting too deep,
These guys are deep.
yeah, I can go deep real quick. The life quest, if you will, has been literally how do I take a moment and authentically present that to another audience? I want the experience happening here to be transported. And I want to do that in the truest form of the sense. One of the filmmaking terms that kind of inspires some of it is cinema verite, documentary term, meaning to unveil truth. And I think in everything that we're doing, every piece of technology has been through this filter of how do I provide a genuine, authentic experience with any piece of hardware or any creative choice. That's the motivation.
And you're thinking about the screens too, whether they're watching on their mobile phone.
Oh, absolutely.
Or
It could be anything to the intentionality. It's like it could be the iMac in the room. It can be, it could be a Zoom call, how they're experiencing me in the Zoom call. I've done back before Zoom grids were cool for hybrid events. We had all kinds of fun, figuring out the technology as it was new and creating amazing virtual experiences. And so, both in corporate and in church, it was really powerful. Dividing or erasing the barriers and how authentic that could be. Like, it was always so surprising to me that your passion or your message could actually make it. It could, instead of just being passive listeners, actually creating participants.
That's we'll talk about participants and passive listeners. But I want to go to Ken. So Ken came back from Australia and said something amazing to me that the Australian Open, we're sort of doubling down on it, never being the same twice and making these moments. Why don't you talk a little bit about what you saw there?
Yeah, sure. So I think obviously we've all, hopefully, well, it's hard to watch the Australian Open because of the time difference. But I think that the challenge that they face, obviously you face as well, I think everybody faces is, the goal is to create a sense of community and to have people want to come back and again and again. I always think about them, my church days. I honestly don't go back to church now because the services are pretty much the same year and again. And then after a while, you're like, I can only hear the same stories the same many times, 45 times. So what the Australian Open, Craig Tilley, who's their CEO, and I was talking with Josh Lee, who's the head of broadcast, but he said Craig Tilley's attitude towards the whole event, the Australian Open, is he says, we have to change 50% of the event every year because we need people coming back every year. And if you don't change, they're going to be like, I've been there, I've done that, I've seen this. So when you go into this Australian Open tennis grounds, they created almost like a Disneyland sense where there's like the Tomorrowland area, and there's different areas for different types of people because you want to bring them all together and not say like, I don't love tennis, so I'm not going to go. Well, people do go because the grounds pass is like $25-$30, and they just go there and hang out with their friends and watch in different areas. So you can during the day you can move from one area to the next and have a completely different experience. So that's what they're doing on the corporate level. And then next week, oh, by the way, this week, because the courts slow down, because there's more action on Rod Laver Stadium, the main one, they're taking one of the smaller stadiums, which holds like 5,000 to 10,000 people, and turning it into a concert venue. So like Renee Rapp is playing there and a couple other artists. So you go in for $50, $60, get a ticket to the concert for the afternoon, then you hang out on the grounds and watch the tennis. So it's amazing how they're kind of really leveraging their whole experience to create a new experience every year. But then the last thing, obviously, I don't know, probably some of you saw this, Naomi Osaka, who's a tennis player, when she did her walk-on at the first match, she walked out with a Nike created an outfit for her that had a veil, had a big wide brim hat, and then a veil in front of her, and she had a big umbrella, a parasol. And so she walked out, and it was, I went onto the Tennis Australia site, 7.4 million people have watched that clip of her just walking onto the court. Right. So it was a great example of marketing and just thinking outside of the box a little bit and being like, I'm not just going to walk on as my player, I'm going to come out and make a statement. I think at the end of the day, the key is rethink your events, keep them fresh as much as you can, because people do move on if you don't keep changing and evolving.
Yeah, and I think attention to detail. And what struck me about, well, Ian, you're in year 3, going into year 3 of Open Source, year 4.
Yeah.
And what struck me was the attention to detail to make it, so Open Source caters to creators and makers. And so right from the gate, when you tell us about when you walked into the gate and you got your badge, I kind of love that.
Yeah. So at our event, we basically have an audience of people that love to make things, love to tinker. And so our event badges for the last 3 years going into year 4 have all been circuit boards, PCBs. And so from the moment you walk in, you have something to look at and touch and interact with. And as the years have gone on and we've been able to get more support, we've been able to make those badges do more things. So year 1, the idea was you're not going to be able to do anything with this badge at the event, but you'll have it. And then later online, we saw videos of people taking that badge and adding components to it and hacking it and really having the event kind of live on beyond it with this. And so as we've geared up, we've created soldering stations at the event where people can go and learn how to mod their badge and then go on and do it and so forth. And so we're really trying to have the badge be something that you feel bad throwing away, that you want to keep or reminds you of the event, and you come back to it.
Yeah, it's a moment. And so I think, so Mike, you get called in 8 months ahead of time. Do you get called in to actually plan the moments, or do you get called into, we need this to happen, we've decided it? How much of a seat at the table does Freeman have?
Oh, very much. And there's a lot of stories that tie into a lot of the same type of production design. So we focus on street to seat, right? What's the experience from when you get dropped off at the curb, through all the different experiences of picking up your registration badge, all the way until when you get into the final room. And it's creating little moments that matter, because you never know, walking into a tennis match, what's going to become the viral moment, right? Well, a lot of times that didn't happen accidentally. It sounds like Nike was very involved in making sure that it became a moment. We do it the same way. We intentionally design environments that allow people to capture those special moments, unarchitected, unscripted, but shareable to the rest of the world. And that's a very, very important part of live design. And I think what also ties into is, kind of what I call them split personality productions, right? A lot of what we're doing in the broadcast world, we're creating experiences for the live audience, but the separate personality is it's a different script, it's a different experience. How do you make it compelling for those that are watching remotely as well? So interesting design from start to finish.
Can I piggyback off of that for a second?
Definitely.
I think something that we've realized as the years have gone on is that all of our marketing for our event are moments. We spend no money on marketing because we have online content creators that promote the event. And how people find out about the event and realize what it is through Instagram Reels, TikToks, short form videos. So people are seeing 10, 20 minute long moments from the event, and that's what's giving them a taste in their feed beyond a photo. And we've realized that has driven, on our last event, I think 70 million views on short form just from clips from panels. We don't post anything long form. The amount of people that are going to watch a hour-long panel versus a 30-second clip is far higher. So that's been really a key to our growth, has been these little moments.
And I think in your case, you've also choreographed a community before the event even starts. They know each other, they've seen each other's work, and now they're kind of there to celebrate it. Is that right?
Totally, yeah. There's the existing audiences of all these creators, so we have like a little bit of a cheat because people want to come and see them. When they do panels, we're like, don't worry about it. Like everybody in the audience already knows who you are. You could say anything. They're just excited to see you talk. So that's nice for them. But we've created communities on Discord and online where people are talking year round and then gearing up for the event. Yeah.
And so, Ken, do you think that's happening in the sports world that you cover? Are they creating moments that are fleeting, or Instagrammable moments, or community?
I mean, the events themselves, thankfully, create a lot of events that are fleeting and can be clipped into highlights. I mean, it is the nature of the future of sports. But I think, the challenge, I think, is always to do, right now more than ever, obviously, forget about AI land, but, authenticity and authentic emotions versus sort of just playing for the camera, or you can create a viral moment by being very inauthentic, but how do you kind of really bring your personality to a moment and the whole event's tone to a moment, and not have, unfortunately, because maybe you've seen this, but events can spin out of control and the wrong tone or the wrong moment can go viral, and that's probably the worst thing that can happen, right? So
year one we were just like, how do we get people to show up to an event? Because the automatic thought was, this is going to be a Firefest situation. Like, we haven't done an event before. No one's seen it. Like, the default is like, it might be bad. And you have that great example of like, the only reason to show up to an event is trust. You trust that your money's going somewhere, and that same virality can absolutely work in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Well, I think getting out of the house is the reason people go to events still. It's our last sort of human. We were just talking that events will not go away. So how many people in the audience are involved in their company's events? How many of you think about scripted versus unscripted moments, or moments at all, when you're designing? So let's talk about script a little bit. So Mike, you have to be very careful in most of your events that things stay somewhat scripted but feel unscripted. Is that true?
Yeah, very much so. And it's honestly when we talk about viral moments, it's the unscripted moments that really add a sincerity and a plausibility to your events. It's when people are saying what their experience is like at the event versus reading from a script of what we want the event to be, right? That's when you caught lightning in a bottle, right? That they captured the essence of the event and they're sharing it back out as well. And so there is a highlight, especially in government work. It is very prescriptive, but you have to create environments for those who are unscripted to do what they want. Our team is loading in the Super Bowl right now. One of my most fascinating people watching areas of the entire Super Bowl is Radio Row at the Media Center. And I love the term Radio Row because we still call it Radio Row for all the users. It's really podcaster row nowadays. There are still some radio stations there, but it's the most sincere element of the Super Bowl, right? Because what it takes to be a broadcaster has changed with podcasting. You don't have to have a radio station anymore. You just have to have a following. And so sometimes some of the most sincere and honest feedback you hear from the Super Bowl comes from podcasters' row.
Yeah. Well, Tide last year had their own booth.
Right.
So, when detergents are broadcasting from Radio Row, something's amiss.
Yes. And if you think about the Super Bowl, half of it at the event, but it's equally a bigger chunk of the money goes on in the surrounding things around the Super Bowls, the parties, the fandom, the local bar in New York that's having a fest. So it's an event, and we have very few of those these days. Those collective.
Yeah. And also, I was just going to say, because with Mike, obviously, church services are pretty scripted. Sermons are scripted. The music's scripted. So where do you kind of drive those moments?
Yeah, I think structure is the vehicle for spontaneity. You can't have momentum without a structure, but it also creates space. You can't create space without boundaries. And so that's kind of a cool way of saying moments can be planned, but the best think the most transformative experiences are unplanned, but they're planned for. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I know, I think it's in religion particularly, first of all, repetition is really important, and it's tradition, and it makes you have a different feeling other than that moment. But I think within that, you plan for those moments. And I don't know how you plan for, I'm going to call them the anti-moments, like Mike when the president trips up the steps and it becomes your fault and set design, or, I mean, this would give me agita, like crazy. How do you make sure, and I know there are advanced details that walk through all government events to see how it's going to play out and look where it's not lit well enough, etc. How do you do that? Like, are you the most detail or no? A lot of detail orientation.
It is, and it's planning for the unplanned, right? It's envisioning everything that could go wrong and trying to account for that. And things are going to go wrong, and so it's how you react when things go wrong. But most importantly, avoiding unfortunate things, trips, falls. That's very intentional. It is planning for everything that could go wrong and making sure that you have done everything you can to mitigate all risks. And when it does, sometimes that's just how it goes. I can think of some government summits where what caught the headline at the 10 o'clock news was the misspeaks, the verbal stumbles versus what went well, and that's just part of the world we live in.
Yes, it is. So let's talk for a minute about, we haven't used the AI word in like 25 minutes, which is pretty awesome. I think. So how are you using AI, if at all, to create a moment? Ian?
I would say that honestly, we're not. I actually think that I've never felt more job security with AI, because I think people are going to crave in-person moments and get out of their house, like you said. We're using AI behind the scenes a lot to make things easier. We have 2,000-3,000 exhibit applications, and year one to now, in the past couple of years, sorting through that and working through that with AI has been super, super helpful. But for a science and technology event, like there's AI all over, and that comes from the exhibits and the community. But as the event, we're there to make the space specifically for open source for other people to show off what they're doing, and there's a surprising amount of connection. Like the exhibits are, people that have made game controllers that use AI that need two people to interact together to do it, and so we have this kind of really cool expo floor with AI, but we're undercapitalizing. Sort of on purpose on the programming side for open source.
And yet your job as a human is to curate so that people who are attending get to these exhibits, have these magical moments.
Exactly, yeah.
But remember, the key with AI, as far as in a lot of events, and especially in sports, so let's pick on golf for a second. Obviously, there's, at an event like the Players' Championship, there's 120 players going out, 130 players. They each have a story to tell. They each have their fans. Each of their fans want to see their moments. So AI is the way to really kind of create that hyper-personalized experience where you're able to give the viewer exactly what they want, which then connects them closer to the event. Because without AI, you're not going to be able to create those, 300, 400, there's 80,000 golf shots, so you can't create that without AI. So I think the trick is figuring out how to use AI to kind of really, allow the seeds to be sown, if you will.
I used to do all that stuff manually, and it was labor intensive, all-nighters. It was a lot of fun. I think in a world of limited budgets, volunteers, and just a lack of resources, AI definitely helps drill down the conversation to getting into some real substance. It really speeds up all that.
And by the way, the real AI is going to come when my AI can watch your show and pull out what it knows I want, as opposed to you having to do that. That's going to happen.
Amen.
Kevin Lopes with ESPN was saying how, the future of the website, what is a website going to be in the future when we wake up in the morning, have our own page that's going to pull all the content from all the websites that we usually go to. So all of a sudden, the whole concept of what is a website kind of goes away because we're all going to have our own personalized experience.
Engagement with content.
Yeah,
Will
exactly.
totally change. I think it really deepens the conversation both as a producer or director, but also as a church congregant or just someone who's studying. It definitely makes it more accessible and relatable. And I think it helps big concepts, big ideas become much more manageable, not just for one individual, but a team.
Well, thoughts. Ken, you've been to the Olympics too. Give us an idea of the moments that are different than the tennis open, but
Well, you know, I'm going to go way back to the Pyeongchang Olympics in Korea. The most viral moment of that Olympics was one of the staffers lost his walkie-talkie up at the ski, and it rolled down the hill, and there was video of his walkie-talkie rolling down the hill. That was like the most viral moment of that Olympics. So people always kind of forget that, you know, that sometimes the moments are not where you can expect them to be.
and it wasn't the Olympic Committee that made that the viral moment. It was
No,
people.
I think it was NBC.
Yeah.
I think it might have put out, oh, look at this little, and then it hit as a moment. So, but
So, do you think about Instagrammable moments or capturable moments as you plan out open source?
Yeah, we try to make sure that everything is on our expo floor is super interactive and engaging so that people want to make their own content. We are not very possessive when it comes to like the rights of the video that we produce. Like if people want to clip it and share it and commentate, like it's just more eyeballs on the event, which has worked really well. And then like to your point, the speed of being able to process all that information, cut it, like we use Opus Clip, which is like it pulls out AI moments that it thinks will do well and ranks them, and so the speed has been huge. The immediacy of being able to see what's happening at the event online. Yeah.
Opus Clip is pretty great. It will also tell you the sentiment of why they chose that clip of all your clips and why they think it will go viral. So it's pretty interesting. Mostly right, but could use a little human tweaking here and there. So I guess at the end of the day, you're using AI as a tool. Talk about, Mike, especially in your case, you've got IP involved, you've got digital fakes, you've got misinformation. Do you guys have to plan for that at all, or just hope it's not too severe as this becomes more and more the norm?
Very much so. Some of the greatest uses we have for AI currently in our regular workflow is doing design studies at the very front end of a project. So we'll study past projects and try to see how that parlays to the forward. So for example, with some of our FIFA work, we can take what the style guide is for FIFA and then very quickly analyze how do we translate this look and feel to each of the 16 host cities to create a similar but still continuous design effort there. The trick is, I always remind my team, HI is still greater than AI. Human intelligence is still greater than AI because it will miss tone, it will miss sensitivities. That really, that's our job as event designers to be hypersensitive to. So you can't just take the output as given. It gets you going, it greases the skids and gets creative juices flowing, but you got to cross-check everything that it outputs.
Okay, so Jesse, you are stationary. You're in one church or in many churches?
I help a lot of churches now, but yeah.
Okay, so do you have to think about modularity and how this is going to move and how this is going to, is this repeatable?
Every audience is a little different. Every group is different. I think culturally, like every church has a bit of a different culture. It's very unique. There's a human element that's very strong.
So your job is to understand that.
Yes.
That goes part of the
And
job.
translate it, yes.
And Mike, I guess same goes for you. Your job is to understand the differences between the different clients that you have and what they're looking for.
Absolutely, and that's such an important part of the human interface of design, right, is to understand that. I remember a great example, we developed some moot boards for when we were going to produce the NATO summit. But when you think NATO, you think world security. So AI kept generating images of globes. NATO, however, is very sensitive. It's not a global peace agency. It's about 32 very unique countries working together around the North Atlantic. So that was actually a faux pas to include any. So again, you have to be hypersensitive to the sensibilities of play and understand the audience you're designing for.
Well, we have no seconds left, so I'm going to run down the line. Just last words of advice to people who might be thinking about moments, memorable epiphanies, moments that you'll treasure. Just thoughts.
I would say you never know what's going to hit for different people. So just because it's not interesting to you, it might be interesting to somebody else. Just putting stuff out there when it comes to at least publicizing the event is super important.
Communication is key. I'm going to tell a super quick story. So the Atlanta Olympics, when Muhammad Ali did the torch. So obviously all the athletes on the track for the torch relay were Americans, and so they did the rehearsal, and the rehearsal was fine because everyone just kind of did their job and passed on the torch, and that was fine. Now, as we know, the torch only has so much fuel in it, and then it does not burn. Well, what happened during the ceremony was that the athletes would stop, and all of a sudden, caught up in the moment, would start talking to each other, as opposed to handing the torch on. And there's a very famous film from inside video from inside the truck of, I believe it was Ken Ehrlich, I think, yelling at the screen for them to move. He's like, go, run, go, because they were talking so much that he was concerned that he was going to run out of fuel by the time we got there. So the reality of the event may differ very much with the rehearsal, but I think what's beautiful right now is that was a little different time. Now with the headsets, the little earpieces, everyone can be communicating, and I could say, you better move your butt.
Yeah. Man, I think I would, if I had to have a message to leave us with, I would encourage people to lean on their team, to bring their excellence in their craft, to add their creativity to the conversation, not just run a show. I think culturally that makes a much healthier team, but also it brings shared excellence. And I think, at the end of the day, a shared experience is memorable and oftentimes transformational. And when you leave an event, that's what's going to go with you. And that kind of authentic connection and experiences is the human element. And it's a beautiful thing. I would call it a spiritual thing.
Mike, last thoughts before we let you go back and shovel snow.
Yeah, use open architecture in designing your events. Give people a space to become your spokespeople, your broadcasters, your marketing department, give them the opportunity to share their thoughts on your event. And thanks for hosting me remotely from a frozen
We wouldn't do it any other, well, we would do it any other way, but we wouldn't do it without you. So thank you for all of you for making time out to share. I hope we shared some thoughts that you walk out of here with, and next year, or when we talk to you during the year, give us some feedback on how we can make this event more memorable and more momentous. But I think this panel is a good indication of how we're doing that. So thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, Robin. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.